wasn't feeling very good, so unfortunately, wasn't able to lift much. And I think some of that is due to being a little bit sick. I don't really have any other symptoms other than like kind of a chest cold at this point, but I don't think it would really impact anything. So, as the title suggests, I'm going to be starting an 8 week training block with the idea of doing either a competition or just a max out session on May 23rd. And if that doesn't work out, then figuring out something else or some other meet maybe to do in the summer, but at least to have that be a target date. So the first day is, and actually use Chat GPT to help me write this program, and I actually liked what it had. So I had this 5x3 snatch between 90 and 95, so 70 to 75%, and then front squats 135 to 145 for 4 sets of 5. So similar percentage, 70 to 75, and then some clean pulls, which are 95 to 100% of what I put as like my training max of 155 for now. So those could also be pushed up a little bit because pulls are usually pretty easy, and then some accessory work. So we'll see how long I want to stay live for that. But no music today. I spent some time warming up, so I'm ready to go. My first working set will be at 90, so we'll work up to that and see how a triple feels there. We'll just do singles up to my first working set. 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. We'll eventually throw knee wraps on, but all right. Next set. I don't necessarily have the goal to work out quickly, but keep a good pace. A little bit forward. Trying to move fast, moved a little bit too fast. Or I at least went early. What's up, Sakib? But yeah, thanks for stopping by. That's how you're staring in, but move up to 60 kilos. Throw the wraps on and do the last couple warm-up sets before starting hammering out some triples. The first triple I'll do is at 90, and we'll kind of go by feel with that. I don't even mind necessarily trying to push up above it, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But I think the high today is like 85, so it's really nice out. I haven't started yard work yet. That may be a spring break thing to start mowing and stuff. Sunday rest day? Nah. Nah. Weekends are the best day to lift because you don't have work. At least I don't have work. Right now it is 5:58 p.m. 70 kilos. Easy peasy. 3 a.m. Yikes. We're gonna skip 80 and just go right to 90. Feeling pretty ready. So triples. Let's see how this 90 feels. there for the next set. It's all pretty good. Didn't feel super easy, but it's so super hard. And I was able to kind of just go into the next rep. Because I have a bit of a chest cold, I'm probably going to get more winded than I would like. 90. So this is 70%. So we'll get ready for the second triple. Hello, Felipe. That just feels like really a working weight. Oh. Wild. Feel really out of shape today, but a lot of it has to do with having a lot of phlegm. Not a ton, but when it all drains, I can feel it in my chest. Whew, the weights are moving well. Old man lift? I don't know what you even mean. So next one will be third set of 3. We'll do this one at 90, and then we might push up the next one to 95. Yeah, my father lift weights. remember my grandpa saying he went to a powerlifting meet way back in the day, but I don't think he was really ever into lifting weights a ton. But yeah, Dad didn't do stuff like this, but he just lifted weights. My goal with these reps is try to keep my shoulders over the bar until I get to the contact point. And it's been feeling good. My lungs, not so much. I don't know if it's the chest cold, the triples, or the humidity. Probably a little bit of all three, making me feel like I'm really fat and out of shape. But another triple. Speed and everything's feeling good. Yeah, just keep them there though, to be fair. Cardio's cooking me. Well, the genetics gave me the physical frame to put on this weight, but that's about it. I guess the coordination as well, but all been really good reps. I think I've only had one that was slightly forward. I think it was the first rep on the last set, but the second two on that one and all of the ones on this one felt really good. As long as I keep my shoulders over it and fully extend it, feeling really snappy. Whew. Think I should go up to 95 or stay at 90. I have 2 more sets of 3. The program calls for 70 to 75% and 5 triples. So 70-75% for me is 90 to 95 kilos. I'm thinking I am going to go up. Which means I take off the plastic collar and put on the competition one. Whew. I think it's definitely humid because I'm sweating a lot too, which makes sense because it's in the 80s, or at least the high was 80, 85 today. But I think it's supposed to thunderstorm at some point today, but I like being sweaty when I lift. You get warmed up a lot faster. We're gonna go to 95. All right. So this will be the fourth set, and we went up to 95. So a 5 kilo jump, but if I do the same thing I did with 90 on the first three, then this one will go fine. Felt good. We'll stay at 95. Do my last set there. And then set the goal of doing all the sets at 95. It's good though. One more. Alright, last set. Make it the best set. Oh. The ego of me wants to go to 100, but hitting a good set with 95 will be better for the first session of the first week of this block. And then next week I could do 3 at 95 and maybe push to 100. Well, we gotta make this one good. Good snatch. Definitely glad I stayed at 95. First two were a little early. Last one was good. And really just focused on keeping my left shoulder back. Shoulders out in front, but not letting that drift the bar out. Oh, we're ready for front squats. Oh, that was good cardio, my goodness. Oh, Nelly. All right. I'll run outside and check on the dog. Come back and move this stuff for front squats. Pupper's living, snoozing in there. Got the air conditioning. It's not kicked on yet, but it will. If it gets any hotter. Make sure Grandpa Skippy is comfortable. Knee wraps back on. So 4 sets of 5. I'm going to go 70, 110, 140, and try to do the 5s there. We'll see though. We shall see. Alright, do a couple to bar. Wow. Definitely gassed at this point from the snatches. Retracted his message. Alright. Do an easy rep at 110 and then do some work at 140. And I am actually gassed, but my positions and like mobility feel good for front squats today. So let's hope these fives go fine. We're gonna do the first set without a belt. Maybe all of them, but. All right. Yep. All right, we're gonna do triples. Losing a little bit of position. I definitely could have done another one. We'll put the wrist straps on for the next set. But I'll still try to get the 20 total reps, but I'll probably have to do them in more sets. If I still do 3 on this one, we'll throw the belt on. See if that doesn't help me get 5. And definitely keeping it at 140. more important than getting sets of 5 is the quality of the reps. We'll throw the belt on, but I think triples are what I'm going to be able to do without compromising positions. Which I'm fine with. It'll give me some things to be able to improve upon when I do this session again next week. It's work I need to do, though, that's for sure. I think we'll leave the belt off and just do 4 triples instead of 4 sets of 5. That was our second set. So those are just 2 more. And then it'll give me something to progress next week. Because these are not feeling very fast. My positions feel pretty good. I just feel very slow. Very slow. But I feel like I'm getting good thoracic extension. Uh, I don't know what movement you're referring to, so it's relative to what movement, but I don't know what you mean by 95 pounds. It could be for any exercise. Squats. Yeah, I mean, if you're only squatting 95 pounds, you're going to progress pretty quickly if you're consistent and putting forth the minimum effort, especially at such a light weight. But like, is adding 60 pounds every time you have a period of training, or I don't even know the time frame, but like progressing by 60 pounds is obviously not sustainable. But for a little bit, you're going to make really rapid progress if you're consistent and putting forth minimum effort, and then it will slow down. But the point from which it slows down depends on really your body weight. If you're a bigger person, you're going to probably be able to progress it a little bit longer. If you're really skinny, then you probably won't be able to progress as much or as long. But 99% of people are going to progress probably to 225 pretty quickly. If you are dedicated for a good amount of time, you should get to 315. Like it shouldn't be too difficult to get to that. Really getting beyond that, you kind of just have to continue to be dedicated. But to get to like a 315 squat is not particularly difficult if you're just following basic progressions, really just like linear progressions. But increasing whatever you're doing from what you have done before is always good. So there's nothing bad with that. And as long as your technique, you're squatting to a full range of motion all the way down, and maintaining proper torso position, then that's another way you can measure your progress as well without even having to increase the weight. But if you are scared to do like full depth squats, or you're doing like quarter squats and you're not going to full range of motion, then you're just kind of wasting your time with squats and whatever number you're doing it. Because if you're scared to go all the way down in a full range of motion of a squat, once you get to heavier weights, you're going to cut the depth more and more. You see this with amateur lifters, and you see it with advanced lifters. I've seen it with track and field athletes. You have someone that's doing repetitions of a squat, and they're doing normal reps, full depth, or at least a past parallel, and then they get to a heavy single, and then they just quarter rep it, and it's just ego lifting. And you just have to decide if you are there just to ego lift to say that you did a certain weight, or are you there to actually demonstrate mastery of the weight in a proper way. You'll build more muscle if you are doing a full range of motion, maintaining proper technique. B, you'll remain healthier because you won't be overloading the shortened range of motion and irritating joints and getting tendonitis and stuff is bad. And 3, just look better. Or C, I guess, you'll just look better and look cooler squatting with proper technique. So always bias a complete range of motion. There's no reason not to. I mean, if you're an elite powerlifter, which if you're squatting 95 pounds, you're not, then you can start to manipulate depth and stuff like that. But if you're just squatting just for yourself, then you should always squat to full range of motion. Obviously, there is exceptions if you have some sort of biomechanical reason why you literally cannot, like you have something wrong with your body. But 99.9% of people don't have that issue. So unless you have some sort of like missing joint, then just squat all the way down and do that forever. But no problem. What's up, Sakib? I think that's how you say your name. We're doing squats now, but yeah, But beginner growth will last for a while. A lot of the beginner growth, like the limit of where you stop rapidly progressing, is just kind of how generally strong you are. If you've played sports and you're a coordinated person, you're going to progress a little bit longer. But I'd say most people who start squatting from like nothing usually kind of get their first kind of resistance around 225, and that's assuming you're like a average body weight. Obviously, if you're like 120 pounds of body weight, then that number might be a little bit lower. And if you weigh 200 pounds, the number is going to be a little bit higher. But usually around there, and then you kind of get to your like, all right, I'm going to do a progression. Then it works because you're at 225, and then you hit 315, and it slows down a little bit. But once I would say to get to like 405, you have to really be dedicated to it, and want to progress. That's like you see a lot of people, they are dedicated for a bit and then it gets hard and then they just quit. It's like this is only 308, so it's not even heavy weight, and it's not fun to front squat relative compared to back squats. But now the squats you're talking about are front squats, then that number's a lot lower. Ugh. But most people aren't. Most people aren't choosing to do front squats unless they're weightlifters. All right, this will be my last set of 3. The next week we try to do this for sets of 5, 4 sets of 5. Stay out of the way so I do pools, but drop it for the last set of front squats. Yeah, and having the good technique will help you in the long term as well. Help you stay healthier, help you get more athletic, help you look more athletic, and aesthetically looking better. And then you're a lot less likely to have squat snobs like me look at your squat and just dismiss it if you're above parallel. You missed it. I don't even look at like partial squats as like, oh, it's a partial squat. I'm like, oh, they just missed the rep. They just didn't do it. And to me, if there's a question of depth, you didn't do it. I'm not a power lifter. I don't care about the powerlifting standards. It's the aesthetic standards. And you know a good squat when you see a good squat. It's not no equipped squat to dropping 2 inches and having your feet wider than your shoulders and standing back up. It's looking athletic and squatting athletic. It always cracks me up when you see track and field or various athletes doing squat training or what they call squat training for their sport. And they have this misconception, like I must train at parallel or at like a quarter squat in order to better simulate my sport. And when you're in the weight room, you have a barbell on your back. The only sport where you have a barbell on your back is in powerlifting. So it's already not related to your sport. But the idea that you're not going to train the range of motion that you're going to use in a sport with a full range of squat is kind of comical because you're going through every possible range of motion. Take track and field, for instance, if you're doing a high jump, you're not going to go ATG to jump for a high jump, you're going to be in a partial squat. But if you're doing a full ATG back squat, barbell squat, or front squat, you're not only getting that additional range of motion, so you're helping to strengthen the tendons through a deeper range of motion and improve your mobility overall and to make your tendons just stronger. But you're still going through that same portion of the biomechanic, like the top part of the lift that's more related angle wise to a jump. So it's not as if you just stop training that if you, if you just do full range of motion. That also, it's kind of comical to me that you'll have like sport trainer coaches that will advocate for that because it's quote unquote safer when if you're doing a full range of motion you can't load the movement as much, which is inherent like less weight is going to be inherently safer. There's less risk if you have less weight on the bar. And you see these athletes doing, you see like a chick track athlete squatting 100 kilos more than she could do with a regular ATG back squat just to do some partials. And I mean, if you want to make your knees sore, I guess that's one way to do it, but I'd rather train around what my muscles can actually do and not just manipulate the movement just to look stronger. Because at the end of the day, the force that you're able to exert with a full range of motion weight is the same as you do in a partial range of motion. And doing like quarter squats or pin squats and stuff like that at a really high angle, that can be useful, but when that's all your squat training, or you're just doing like, when I saw some track girl doing Hatfield squats, so she had her hands on hooks to pull herself up, which I think Hatfield squats are a waste of time, just squat. But she had that and was doing box squats, so it's like you're cheating the motion in both ways and pulling with your arms. It's so goofy to do that because it's just like, why do you even want to do all that? Like just squat normal and you don't have to work as hard. Like to me, just doing regular squats is fine, but it's just because it's hard. That's the thing. Is like when you do partial movements like that, you get to feel stronger because you get to lie to yourself that you're actually able to lift a weight that you can't, and you can gaslight yourself that you're more powerful versus not very interesting if you do a 225 ATG squat if you're a track athlete versus doing a 475-pound Hatfield box squat with a safety bar and a high box. It's like, oh well, person's really strong, and like in some sense yes, because it's not as if you can't, but if you have any sort of, once you've lifted weights enough time, you can understand the partial range of motion lifts are so easy to manipulate to get more weight on the bar to where you're not actually getting stronger, you're just manipulating the range of motion. Like a Hatfield squat, it's very easy just to pull a little bit harder with your arms and it significantly helps. Box squats, if you practice them a little bit, you get, and that is the thing I will give them credit for. They do have to practice the motion. I wouldn't go and try to do a 500-pound box squat, Hatfield squat or anything without practicing before getting up to that. So they are progressing to that point, but it's no, it's completely outside of their sport. They're trying to train for their sport, but the weight room inherently is different than the sport. It's an accessory to it. And what you should be trying to do in the weight room, this is something my dad expressed at a young age, and I think this is actually still very true. The number one priority with lifting weights, this is in terms of sports. Obviously, my sport is Olympic weightlifting, so slightly different in the context. But you're in the weight room, the first goal is to prevent injury. And doesn't mean you have to be scared of the weights or anything like that, but you should be doing things intelligently, training in a full range of motion, training with proper technique, not just arbitrary loading a weight on a bar just so you can say that you did whatever weight, doing a Hatfield squat with 150% of your best back squat, and then never training the full range of motion. I think a lot of athletes that have joint tears and joint issues would have a lot less of that if they were just stronger, and not just muscle stronger, because they're all obviously strong, but if they were just stronger in the tendons, and the way that you can strengthen your tendons is through a long range of motion. But, like there's a, not that I'm probably running very fast or anything, but I would guess that my Achilles and ACL and stuff like that are pretty thick, pretty dense, and pretty hard for me to tear just through all the lifting that I've done. But you see a lot of like NFL athletes that are scared to do, full range of motion lifts and squats. You see the good ones like Saquon Barkley are doing them and doing cleans and stuff, but a lot of guys are just scared of them. I think more aggressive strength training would probably help pitchers as well, not blow their elbows out. You're just generally more strong. Thanks, Reed. So, I mean, you see guys like their knee explodes when they run. Like I get like it's some dude that runs like a 4.340 and they're explosive anyway, but you can't tell me that if they had strengthened their tendons through full range of motion lifts that they would just be less likely to get hurt. It logically doesn't make any sense that if your tendons are, because that's like one of the best benefits I think of lifting weights, and obviously once you push it then you get tendonitis and stuff like that, but one of the best things that you get is stronger bones and stronger ligaments from lifting weights. And obviously you get muscle, which helps supports the ligaments as well. But like, I mean, I think most people have seen many X-ray or like people who go get an X-ray and they're like, Will Tennyson or someone that's like a powerlifter or whatever, and their bones are super dense, and that's just it's such a nice benefit of lifting weights is you just have such thick bones or such dense bones because of all the resistance training. And I'd be curious what my bones look like. I imagine they're pretty dense, but like that's just good for long-term health. And if you had an NFL player that had that sort of bone structure as well, you couldn't tell me that they would be less likely to get hurt. And obviously, like people get hit in weird ways, and they're if a 350-pound lineman hit the back of my knee, like no amount of squatting is gonna protect my knee from exploding. But a lot of the like Achilles injuries, I think that's just guys not training hard, not pushing themselves as far as getting strong. Because like a full range of motion, a squat, like that pushes the range of motion of your Achilles. There's a bug in here now. It pushes the range of motion of your calves and your knees and everything, and it just makes you have to be more mobile. And if you have more mobility and strength through a longer range of motion, I can't imagine that you're less or that you're just as likely to get hurt. And when you see a lot of like quarterbacks, is what Daniel Jones, like you have people that are really athletic and coordinated and get the most out of their bodies and are really, just explosive. They need more strength training than anyone else just to make their body more durable, because of the fact that, like, if I magically could run a 4.240 and I just did it, I'd probably explode because I don't have any training for it. But at the same time, you give Daniel Jones a 315 squat, he's probably going to explode as well. And you have some sort of mix and match between the two. But you see him doing like jumps and sprinting and stuff like that, but nothing makes your body more durable than just building muscle and strong tendons. I would be curious about like a research study. Yeah, we're turning the shed wisdom. But I'd be interested in a squat study that measured the density of not just bones but of just ligaments, and like something related to like Achilles rigidity or some sort of like measure of tendon strength after like 8 weeks of just squatting. I would imagine that it has to go up. Like logically, it has to go up. And I remember a time when it was actually right as I got into weightlifting, so I started to do a lot more ATG squats and clean, everything, just the full range of motion. And my calves, it was so weird. My calves hurt. And my ankles and hips are always been really mobile. So like I've never had an issue of getting to a full range of motion, but it was almost like I think my shins hurt a little bit too. But it was just just constantly getting stretched in a deep range of motion and pushing the weight. It just made like bouncing off the bottom of a squat hurt because my calves were just getting tight. And that went away and then never came back. But like that adaptation, if I can even say that word, of that time frame, I guarantee made my Achilles and calf and everything more durable. Um, and I think honestly, it's probably one of the reasons that growing up, like I never had a major injury related to a sport, is that I was strength training. Um, Even at like basically after I broke my arm in sixth grade, that was like when I started to do any form of strength training, and a lot of it was for wrist and forearm. But like you see pictures and they do like band stuff for their arms, and I think a lot of that's great. But like you couldn't. It would be hard for me to think that if you just really push the strength in your forearms, if you push the strength in your arms in general, like just building all the muscles around there, that it would be able to handle the forces more of throwing at a high velocity. It might help you throw at a higher velocity, but it'll help you be able to handle it as well. And same with like a wide receiver. If they can only squat 225 pounds with really good technique, if they got their squat to 315, you couldn't tell me that their body would be more durable for it. I mean, even if you're not even thinking from a tendon standpoint, if they can move 315, like that's what linemen weigh. So like, that to me is kind of funny. It's like it's a specific way of training, and if you want to get strong through a longer range of motion, it's going to just help you in so many different ways and just make you more flexible. And in a sport with like football, where there's a lot of variables with how you get hit and stuff like that, if you're strong in a longer range of motion and you have more mobility, you are probably less likely to get hurt if someone hits you and you land in an awkward way. A funny example I can give. So I was walking into the gym Friday, walking backwards, and we have rollaway basketball hoops because the hoops in there are like 10-foot hoops that were there from when it was a high school years and years ago. So we have adjustable hoops and it has that like you see in people's driveways and yards and stuff. But I was walking backwards and I tripped and not very coordinated of me to do that, but I was paying attention to the kids in front of me and talking to them, but tripped and like took 2 or 3 steps back and then fell on my butt. Now, an average person, not that not that this is like a flex, but like I didn't get hurt or anything. I didn't break my arm. I didn't hurt my tailbone. I just landed on my butt cheek and then I was fine. But like I can imagine that there's people that would fall like that and get seriously hurt, whether it's an older person or a younger person. If they, not that I necessarily landed in a coordinated way, but like if they weren't super dense, like I just think I'm less likely to have a catastrophic injury. I'm thick. I'm thick to the bone. I've waited and procrastinated my pulls, but um, I've started a program as the title suggests, and it's inspired by ChatGPT. So I talked with it, and it's like an 8-week progression. I haven't signed up for a meet yet, but I put the competition day as May 23rd. That's usually around when that Columbus place has a weightlifting meet. If they don't, then I'll just do a max out day at that point. But I actually really like the progression with the program and did 5 sets of 3 in the snatch. It told me to do 4 sets of 5 in the front squat. I wasn't able to do that because I'm weak. And so I did 4 sets of 3 and we'll hopefully be able to do 4 sets of 5 next week. But my positions felt pretty good, and reps on the front squat are really difficult. Um, from taking care of many patients who are vastly injured from a very basic fall. Yeah, and it's like, and that's where it's crazy. Where it's you just have people who are like, oh, it hurts my knees and this and that. It's like your body does not want to strain. Like that's perhaps the biggest misconception is like lifting weights or exercise is not meant to be comfortable because your body literally wants to do nothing and eat as many calories as possible and move as little as possible. Obviously, we all have different dispositions of wanting to move, but from a survival standpoint, exercise is the dumbest. Like lifting weights is literally the dumbest thing you can do if you're trying to survive. I'm going to add muscle, which is going to burn more calories. I'm going to have a higher metabolism, which is going to require me to. I guess that adds to the metabolism aspect. But like I'm also just going to have extra mass on my body that's not fat, that doesn't turn into energy stores that I can use if I don't have food. So it's like the most inefficient thing. So that's where I feel like it's hard to exercise. Like yeah, it hurts my joints. And like yeah, your body does not want to adapt. It does not want to change it, but it will change if you are just consistent with it. And a lot of the joint stuff is just not loading properly. But even if you are, like I mentioned with the calves thing, like I was pushing. I've always been an idiot with training, but like I wasn't doing anything crazy, and it would be like empty bar, and before I warmed up, my calves would be tight. for what was like a month or so, and then your body adapts, and then you're fine. It's the same with like I had a knee scope in college, and knees crackling and stuff now, but knees will flare up in different times or whatever. Like it's for most people who squat and lift all the time, but it's nothing like I had in college with that when I had a bunch of frayed cartilage. So I'm sure there's still frayed cartilage and stuff floating around in there now, but compared to what I experienced before, it's fantastic. And it's one of those things too. It's like, oh, if you're sore, then it's like, oh, what's the point? Like, well, it's to get stronger. But for you or I, it's to lift heavier weights. But for the average person, why wouldn't you want to live longer? Because for me, it's like when I'm 80, like I'm still gonna have a lot of the muscle and density that I have, or the bone density that I have now. So it's gonna make living when I'm older better. Makes living now better, but like when I'm 70 or 80 or whatever, like I'm probably gonna be a little bit more mobile than the average 80-year-old. At least I hope so. But can't really plan on that being the case because you never know if you're gonna get some sort of random disease. Smoked it. I'm off ranting and raving. But I've seen like there's been teachers that have randomly fallen over that have gotten hurt, and it's being durable for life is also useful. Because sometimes you just fall. Sometimes you're not looking and you trip on a basketball hoop. Alright. Bah. I don't know if you saw Grandpa Skippy read on my story, but it's he was a dog when I was at home. He's 16, so I was 16 when my parents got him. So I was at home with him for a couple years, and then would see him obviously when I came home from college. But he's an old man, so I call him Grandpa Skippy. So I'm walking him out in the yard and stuff to go to the bathroom. He's like, Grandpa, get over here, Grandpa. Grandpa. He's pretty deaf too. It's kind of funny. You have to like really like clap, get his attention. He can still see, but his vision's also pretty bad. But for a 16-year-old dog, he does not have a lot of issues. I mean, deaf is not really that life or death for a dog that old. But like he's stiff and stuff, as an older dog usually is, but doesn't really have any like crazy medical issues, which is just insane. But he's definitely slowing down. I have noticed that. Like every time I see him, a little bit less and less. So, a year or two, you might be lucky. But I mean, he's lucky to have made it to 16. Especially, I mean, I think he was a rescue dog. I think that's all the last couple dogs my parents have got have been from shelters. So I haven't mentioned this to my parents, but I think he could theoretically be older, depending on when they got him, or depending on how old he was when they got him. He wasn't a puppy; he was a couple of years old. Because they just had another dog that passed away, and he was 13, but he could have also been older as well. So Skippy theoretically he could be like 18. this a set of 4. Do you see the post on my YouTube read of the picture of the clean? I don't know if you're still in here, but salami, badad, salimi, that Ludwig guy, you probably follow him as well on YouTube, posts like random clips of lifts. I saw the I was lucky. I saw the forbidden clip. I guess it's not supposed to be released. Yeah, the 280 clean. But the I actually like it. I like the structure of it. And I think I only had to change one thing on it with tomorrow's session. Actually, it was a Tuesday session where it had clean and jerk doubles, which is fine. But then it had clean pulls after it, and I'm doing clean, I guess, deadlift for pulls or whatever today. And I was like, why does it have clean pulls twice? And I changed it to like pause cleans. And I asked it, why does it have clean jerks and then pause cleans? And I was like, well, practice and timing of the clean under a fatigue state. And I was like, all right, that makes sense. But with the salimi, I asked, so Vintage Lifts on Instagram, Thomas is his name. I don't know if you follow his personal page, but I messaged and asked him, or I sent him the screenshot that I had and asked him about it, and he said he has had the clip for a while and was asked not to share it. I asked him why, but he hasn't answered that. But I also remember Seb from Weightlifting House mentioning that he had seen the clip as well back a while ago at this point. I mean, the clip's old anyway, but that he had seen it a while ago and was asked not to share it as well. I don't know why, because he's retired at this point, so I don't understand. But yeah, he caught the clean so easy and jumped it up. That makes me think that there might be a 290 block clean out there, and that sounds like saying that number doesn't make any logical sense. Not that anything at that weight makes sense that when you're doing anything with it, but like when you see him move it, you're like, oh, he could have done more. Like a 300 kilo block clean actually would make sense in theory. Whether someone would actually go that heavy, that's kind of the tricky thing, is like, why would you ever, if you are doing, for him, at the most he's gonna do what, 270 at like absolute peak shape. And I don't know if he ever actually did that, but like if you're doing 280 block clean, like you probably don't need anything more. You would hope. But and it's like that Iranian clean. I mean, you could find other Iranians doing the block cleans, and it's the same like type of blocks where they're just like extending and just jumping under, and like for some reason they're built perfectly for it. But he just jumped it right up, and it's just so absurd, which makes me think that there's people that could have just done that from the floor, which is absurd to think. But it's also one of those things that's like, if you can't jerk anywhere near that, it's like Lasha. Lasha for sure could have done a 280 clean, but like if his jerk is struggling at 270 and that's like peak shape that he's ever going to be in, there's not really much utility in it, and you're just going to get hurt. But yeah, not only like doing it, but like he mogged it. And I should have, like, I didn't realize what was happening when I like was watching it, and it was like wasn't letting me comment. I should have recorded it or done something to save it. The forbidden clip. Yes. That would have been just cool to have and to share. Although it's apparently not supposed to be shared. I don't know why, but I don't know if I'd be trusted with that. I mean, if someone sent it to me and said not to share it, I could be trusted with that, but like if I just randomly found it, I'd be sharing it. I would definitely be sharing it. So with the clean deadlifts today, I'm kind of doing them like lasha pulls. So I'm not really trying to get a shrug or anything on them. Just trying to keep my shoulders over it. Yeah, I mean, I don't have the video, but yeah, I'm a list of people that have seen it. An exclusive list of, I mean, whoever was in that training hall with Salimi and now Ludwig, as well as Seb and Thomas. So I am on a good list, I hope. The forbidden weightlifting knowledge clip. I don't know, Reed, if I ever talked about John Stang and the controversy with him and Mash Elite. After I do this setup, I can talk about it, but I guess if you don't, I don't know if you know who John Stang is. Stang. I don't know if that's two G's or one, but he's a smaller guy, strong, but he used to lift at Mash. I feel like I've talked about it before at some point, but yeah, it's nice. It's like 83 today, so it's been real warm. But well, I guess before I go on the tirade about John Stang and the rumors around it, there's rumors that Wes Kitts was kicked off his football team in college for using performance-enhancing drugs, or at least was using them to try to make the NFL. That's very rumored, unsubstantiated. But I have a friend that has talked to a lot of, or at least was in contact with a lot of weightlifting people. He's in the know of some stuff, but rumors of that. But the story of John Stang is more stuff that I've been able to find on my own, but also that same friend was able to talk about that a little bit as well. And there used to be like Reddit threads, and you can still kind of find them. John Stang's account is like one of those deleted Reddit accounts, but it's his account. Supposedly back in the day, so this was back when Dylan Cooper and Nathan Damron were lifting at Mash Elite. John Stang was also there, and all really good lifters at that time. And at that time, John Stang allegedly, potentially, blew the whistle on them using SARMs or some sort of performance-enhancing drug. I think it was SARMs was what it was rumored. But also, alleged, potentially. And Travis Mash was very upset about that. And I think John Stang lived somewhere else. I think that was when they were in Oregon or somewhere. And he wanted John to fly or drive all the way out to the gym or whatever so he can kick him off the team or whatever. And he didn't want to go, but apparently John Stang had been like an informant to USADA or whatever, that they were taking stuff that they weren't supposed to, which I mean makes sense because they were absurdly strong relative to everyone else. And you have Morgan, where he was able to get to world record levels of strength at 13, 14 years old, and you just kind of know what's happening. And to have that sort of not that it's a a definitive evidence, but when you see the weights that they're lifting, and then you see like a youth lifter that was randomly, stronger than every other youth lifter in the world, lifting at the same place, and they all have absurdly strong lifts and squats and stuff like that. Maybe it's the methodology is just better than everyone else's, but it's kind of like the Olivia Reeves argument. Like, is she doing something special in training? Is she that good of a responder, or is she just really, really all of those things true and taking the snozzle? Because there's the reason why elite lifters are better than other elite lifters, and it's not because they respond better to training or they're more athletic. I wouldn't say that some other random lifter that's in second place to Olivia is less athletic than her or doesn't respond to training as well as her. But um, I think the Sin Crane, when he's like, USA lifters are probably dirty, like, I think that's probably true. And it just all depends on the amount. Like, you're not taking, trend and stuff that's really easy to detect. But when you are able to use your whereabouts violations to leverage time frames of when you can take performance enhancers, as far as like missing a drug test and then you get three whereabouts violations before you get a ban. Leveraging those to continually take steroids, or at least to take it for as much of the year as you can, or performance enhancers, whether steroids or whatever, is probably what's most likely happening. And whether that will ever change or not, probably won't. But that's why, like, you don't see a random USA lifter doing like a 210 snatch. Is they can't, it's not unfettered. And that's the difference really of other countries, is it's unfettered until they're at a competition, or if some random person from WADA shows up in that country. But in America, they at least have to leverage the whereabouts violations, and that's probably what a lot of athletes do in a variety of sports. And um, I always like the counter argument. It's like, there's no money in weightlifting. Why would they do it? It's like, why would anyone take steroids? It's because it's fun to get strong. It's wow, my joints feel better and I'm recovering faster and I can lift more weights. Why would I ever want to do this? Like, it's kind of hilarious. Um, but like, just the thought of like, oh yeah, and I also like the cope of like, oh, you just don't like it because they're stronger than you. It's like, well, they are. I don't really care that they're stronger. I know if I watch Sin Crane doing doubles with snatching 180, yeah. But it's like when I'm watching Gabriel Sin Crane do like 150 doubles in the snatch, like, you just know what's happening to get to that level, and doing it with relative ease. And you see other guys doing massive lifts or whatever, and um, when you understand what they have to do, and it's annoying when you're like, yeah, like, they're almost certainly on steroids. It doesn't mean they're not working hard. You have to work hard still. Some would say you have to work even harder because you have to lift more weights. You get to do more volume. You have to do more volume, and you have to deal with all that. So it's not as if like, oh, it's just easier and you just don't have to work as hard. It's like you have to do a lot more. It just doesn't make it less unimpressive, but it just, and people are like, oh yeah, she's natural. Like, she's not on steroids. Wes Kitts wasn't banned for a stimulant a month before the Olympics and got a 2 week ban or whatever because he's Wes Kitts. Like, you have a variety of people that are able to take performance enhancers, and they just leverage it correctly. I mean, like John North, he just didn't care because he was juicing when he was bodybuilding, and then just failed all his whereabouts violations. He didn't technically test positive, but he was blasting away and just didn't show up for drug tests 3 times. And you can't do that. You got to show up eventually. Um, yeah, and it's not that like I think like a 150 snatch you have to be on steroids to do, but it's a totality of the circumstances to where it's like, oh, this person can do this at such a light body weight so easily and do everything else. So it's um, there's definitely differences in like the genetic limits, and that's the other thing that's hard to know is like, what is like the limit for like a natural male lifter or a natural female lifter. We don't truly know because it's different for every person and it varies so much. But when we have enough years of people lifting, like we have the 2008 Olympics of people that lifted weights around Reeves body weight, and we're blasting away, and she's outlifting them. Like, she's just better than Russia and better than Kazakhstan that had a whole system around training and taking steroids. Like, they were blasting through the competition. They weren't cycling on and off. They were fully torquing it the whole time. And to have her just like, oh yeah, no problem. Like China, like she just outlifts all the, it's like I get like competing with them, but um, It's one of the reasons I think Hampton is actually more likely than not to be natural is that his snatch is so much lower than his clean and jerk. If he was suddenly snatching 155, 160, and conceivably would be clean and jerking like 210, like you kind of know what would be happening. But because there's such a lag between the two, then it's they're serious, baby. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think anyone that trains weights knows the temptation of it because it's just fun to think about. For me, obviously, like the health negatives and the cost and all of that has never really made me actually like consider it. But like just the theoretical of like, man, it would be fun just to always feel good when you're lifting and to always progress and to see what you could do. But um, when you're competing at a high level in a sport, you kind of know what you have to do. It's like track and field athletes. Like, yeah, they're all just really genetically gifted and athletic. Like, yes, and then they take that on top of it. It's it's annoying when it's like two things can be true. It's the drugs don't make the athlete, but good athletes also are good responders to performance enhancing drugs a lot of times. Clearly, I mean, look at Ilya, like good athlete, really good athlete, really good responder to says the stance a lot, all the stuff he was taking. And I think at the very elite, like the reason why Lasha existed over someone else is that he was athletic, really good at training, had really good disposition for training, but also responded better than others to performance enhancing drugs. I think that's like the difference between being first place at Worlds and being in eighth place is, yeah, maybe that person at first trained better and is more athletic, and that there's that little bit of difference, but there's also like that huge deviation of they just respond better to whatever substances they're taking. They have naturally more durable joints. They're naturally more mobile. Like there's slight differences, but like that drug response, especially at that high level, I think is critical. Yeah, when I do clean pulls with this or deadlifts or whatever, it's amazing that people see cranes doing doubles in the snatch with it. It doesn't make any sense. Don't make no sense. Don't make no dollars. No, I mean, just for me. Anytime you PR, I'll accuse you of steroids. No, I mean, even like with my big deadlift, like, I wouldn't be surprised if people thought I was on steroids to do that. Like, it's just, to me, it's like that's it. So, like, me being able to do that is like, all right, there's a lot more to the natural limit than I would conceive. Like, I think, 700 plus pounds is natural or possible to do naturally in the deadlift. And so you could also extrapolate that if you're good at other lifts that you're going to do that as well. But there's also the fact that people are genetically predisposed to being good at one lift or another. And people who are like that, natural powerlifters that are squatting absurd amount of weights and then deadlifting absurd amount of weights and then benching absurd amount of weights, and they're magically gifted at every single exercise. I wish I could be gifted at everything, but there's a reason. They have a natural disposition to be good at one of the lifts, and the performance enhancers help them perform in other areas that they wouldn't normally in. But yeah, you're definitely on steroids though, Reed. I know. You can't lie to me. You can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to me. Hey, you have a good one, Reed. I'm about done here anyway. I got one more set and then accessories. It's gonna be band work, ab work. I'll go and do some cardio. But the real metric of steroid use is anyone that's stronger than me. They're on steroids. Anyone who's ever lifted more than me has to have taken steroids. I am the natural limit. Alright, so I'll shear out. Accessory work time. But thanks for hanging out, everyone. Deuces.